Hello survivors, welcome to another video. So I was just about to head off to bed and I just saw this basically. It's the new faction assault that's going to be coming sometime in November, and it is in beta and it is being tested. It's been internally tested from what I've read as well, and now they're going to be testing it in beta. So basically this is the new sort of event that you can be done within a faction. It's a PvE event, which means it's just you and your faction against bosses. If you haven't seen my previous video, I will link that in the description, but we're just going to go through the announcement from beta, and as you can see it says factions that stay together, stay together. With its launch into beta today, we're proud to announce Faction Assault, the latest faction based feature coming to a road to survival. At its core, we've developed Faction Assault to be a cooperative and competitive feature that puts players up against some of the toughest opponents the game has ever seen. You'll have to work together with your faction and employ both power and strategy to ensure that your faction not only defeats the threat, but also collects the bountiful booty that awaits those that come out triumphant. Be careful though. Faction Assault is not a walk in the park, unless maybe that park is swarming with saviors, or maybe it's just Negan on a tank. So as you can see from this image, it's not really a great image, but basically this base is looking like a normal world map stage, but instead of you having like 5 enemies to deal with or loads of walkers to deal with, it's just Negan. And looking at his HP, he has 284,000 HP. I don't think you're going to kill him. I think you're just trying to wear him down, and eventually he's going to kill your team. So you want to try and survive for as long as possible, and just get as much attacks off in your attack. It's up to you and your faction as a whole group to take him down. Whether you can use the same characters again after they've been destroyed, I'm not sure. We'll see. So we're going to go to the next part. It says, how does it start? Faction Assault is a persistent feature available to all players in a faction. For the beta testing, players only need to be a player at level 5 to participate. It's up to your faction leaders or co-leaders to choose 1 out of 5 difficulty tiers and start the assault so that all your faction members can jump in and start fighting. The higher the tier, the higher the difficulty, but also the better rewards. Coordinating start times is important because some tiers will have a time limit which require further teamwork. Tickets to ride. It says to start the assault, your faction will need a specific number of assault tickets, and assault tickets are earned individually by every faction member who participates in other areas of Road to Survival. For every point of raid, world, war, territory and survival road energy that you spend on battles in which you win, a certain number of assault tickets will be rewarded to your faction. Okay, so basically everything we already do will start earning towards assault tickets, which is cool. It does world energy as well. Okay, there is world energy, and that's quite important, I think, because people who farm a lot will get something out of that as well. All the assault tickets pull together into a faction total up to a daily cap, so as long as your faction members are playing the game, you'll always be working towards the tickets needed for another assault. The number of tickets earned vary per type of energy. During the beta period, we've adjusted the rate at which tickets are earned, as well as greatly reduced the cost of an assault in order to give players easier access to try out the feature. This is kind of like when 6 stars were originally released, where they just had insanely high stats. I think they've got maybe high stats now, but they had much higher stats, like twice the amount. They had like 3,500–4,000 damage, and this was just to promote people in beta, and this is normal. This is really normal in beta testing, to just promote use of people using beta, to test it, to have more fun, to be able to do it, so it's not too much of a grind. So let's look at the next bit, and as you can see, it's got the tickets. It says raids, roadmap, wars, tournament roads. Okay, battling the bad guys. Once the action is underway, all faction members can begin tackling the stages depending on the encounter. There will normally be about 5 stages, with a big boss battling your faction in the final stage. Each stage will be broken down into further phases depending on the difficulty tier. Okay, so as you can see here, it has 5 different tiers: A++, S1, S1+, S2 and S3. That's what I can read. I know the image is really low quality. I have linked this in the description if you want to read this directly. It doesn't say how many tickets they're going to cost at the moment, but I guess we'll find out. Next bit, it says, while players will be playing through each phase individually, the damage you deal and progress you make will be shared among your faction. Every time you enter a battle, You'll be battling a snapshot of your faction's current progress with that stage and phase. Once one member does the final damage to pass a phase, all faction members will be able to start the next phase when they start a battle. So as you can see, this looks like the Saviors map. And I did sort of predict that initially we're going to come up against Saviors, and then we're going to come up against you know, other groups of people. You know, we have the Governor and other known groups to battle against. And by the looks of things, as you can see on this left hand side, you actually have requirements of what traits you can take. So that might change every week. I don't know how they'll change it, but it looks like strong and tough in this one. And the requirements here is civilian, leader, and I guess that would be 6-star. And then requirements here are rebel, soldier, and again legendary for 6-star. Then we have strong and tough on the right hand side again for the Tara camp. And it doesn't look like Negan has any requirements. Yeah, it says none. It's really pixelated for me to see it, so I'm guessing it's really terrible for you guys. It says during the different phases of a stage, be ready for different troubles that await you. This could be anything from the enemies to face off against, different traits to counter, or even some specific obstacles to tackle. Overcome all phases to beat that stage. After your team finishes a stage, all the damage your team does against the enemy team is tracked and recorded to your faction's assault. After one member lays waste to the lieutenant or beats the final phase, the next stage will be unlocked. Continue to do damage and unlock the final stage and battle the big boss at the end. How to win. Let's go down a little bit so it's at the top. There we go. While you can use any of your characters to fight in faction assault, each character in your roster is only afforded one battle every 24 hours. There we go, there's the limit. Each day the attack timer will count down, and once it reaches 0, all locked characters can fight again in faction assault. The idea here is to help strategize when to use your characters for maximum benefit. In particular, there are 3 major ways to leverage your teams in battle. Have your wits about you. It says one of the big twists in the primary faction assault stages is that the enemies will have specific strengths and weaknesses that you'll have to exploit to ensure victories. Trait damages are there to use, and certain enemies will also be immune to or susceptible to different status effects. In certain fights you can damage the enemy and make them vulnerable, which increases trait advantage damage against them for a certain period of time. Arranging your teams to exploit these weaknesses and vulnerabilities means more damage and quicker path to victory. And in the screenshot, it's sort of like a very dulled out image of the original image of Negan in the tank, and it says by destroying the it says the component, all targets will become vulnerable, giving you a 2x trait advantage for 2 hours. And it looks like it's just basically the RAM at the front. Call in the reserves. There's also strength in numbers, since the bigger the roster you possess, the more teams you can take into battle. At the same time, the more members in your faction, the more teams you'll be adding to the cumulative damage score your faction shares. By building up your roster and by keeping your faction full, you'll have more muscle to pound down the foes in between your faction and the assault's rewards, and the assault's rewards indeed. Yeah. Strategize with faction members. Each stage in faction assault gets progressively harder, so strategic planning with your faction members can maximize the damage your collective teams do. For instance, you might have your weaker teams recruits attack first in early stages to hold your stronger teams in reserve for later phases and stages. So as you can see in this screenshot, whoever this is completing 4 of the early phases or stages, and now they're on to the Negan stage. It looks like it's a long one as well. The time at the top says 3 days left. Let's go up to the other image and see what that said. Okay, it's basically 20 minutes. So they would have just fast forwarded that just to get the screenshots. Let's bring it down. While everyone works together to start, advance, and complete a faction assault, there's plenty of visibility into your contribution to the assault, which definitely plays into your individual rewards. Okay, that's interesting. Each assault will have a leaderboard that shows the damage contribution of each faction member. Any excess damage done after someone beats a stage will still be counted on leaderboards, but is considered as overkill and therefore not applied to the next stage's progress. Okay, the top 3 contributors in your faction will be shown prominently on the victory screen for completing the assault. That's really cool. That's cool. First off, after completing a stage with a lieutenant, a cache will appear on the faction assault map. Picking up the cache will give you a small reward for your factions toppling the foe, usually with assault markers inside. Okay. The big loot. Once the final boss is downed, based on the difficulty tier, and I'll look at the image first. Okay, it's just a bit more zoomed in of the other image. Okay. The big loot. Once the final boss is down, based on the difficulty tier of the assault that your faction leader chose, each faction member on the leaderboard will gain a reward based on their rank. Most of the time, the reward will consist of assault markers and boss bags, potentially multiple. Boss bags will have a variety of highly valued loot, raising in value based on the difficulty tier in the assault. As for assault markers, they can be used as currency in the supply depot in a new assault markers tab. Okay, as you can see from the supply depot picture here, we see supply points at the top, survival markers at the middle, and then assault markers down the bottom. Where did I read up to? I read a variety of items will be available to be purchased with these new markers, including exclusive faction assault characters. So that's cool. Gear needed to upgrade these characters can also be required with assault markers and through boss bags. During beta, assault marker items in the supply depot will be available at discount to players to preview them easily. That's a good idea. Again, that's what we talked about before. And by the looks of things, this looks like 6-star gear, so you can get 6-star gear with the markers as well. I'm not sure what this looks like. It looks like it's for a character. It has the circle and a person's face there. We don't see any characters here. And again, more 6-star gear. When I say 6-star gear, I mean gear for 6-star characters. This is 5-star gear, but it's for 6-star characters. So that's interesting, and I guess the whistle, and I guess whatever this is the same sort of thing that we can get in survival markers, where we have to get the cutting, or is it the multi-tool knives to get like SR Zeke and the Revive Jesus in there to get them up to the tiers. Next up, it says ready to assault. Well, really excited to let players at Faction Assault in beta now, and hope it's something that players enjoy once it hits the game in November. Please note that in beta we've changed a number of values in the system to make sure testers can try out all parts of the system, including the rewards. As always, we'll be closely monitoring how Faction Assault plays out in beta, listening to player feedback and working behind the scenes to get the final touches in beta before it goes live. We'll continue to monitor everything once it goes live to ensure that everyone can start to battle the terrors of the bosses inside. Rally your faction, prepare for the assault. So it looks pretty interesting. We're getting some more inside info. The rewards system is, I'm not sure, we'll have to see it in action, but it being a depot where you actually choose your rewards, I think that's a much better system than a wheel. I think a lot of people would probably agree that they much prefer to choose the rewards than to rely on RNG in terms of just getting lucky on a wheel. I like the fact that people can see who's the big contributors, like the top 3. I wonder if it's going to give you like everyone's contribution, so you can also see the slackers, because it is always good to be able to see the slackers, whether you've got people who slack or not in your faction. If you can see who slacks, then people are less likely to, if that makes any sense. So this looks interesting. Some more updates. I am actually pretty much looking forward to this. This is something that was very much needed in the game, something that's fun. I think there could be some more fun things added. I think something that the game misses is like rare drops on like world map, like a lot of other games have in these sort of games where they have just rare drops. I don't know what they could be used for, but it's just there isn't anything like proper awesome, and this looks awesome. I'm not sure where the paywall's gonna be. I have talked about this in potential. I'm gonna guess it's probably on refreshing your characters to be able to use your characters for the same day and not have to wait 24 hours. I don't think there's gonna be tickets for sale, because I mean they're going to be quite, not easily, but they're so widely available. I'm not sure. We'll have to test it out to really see, but it looks interesting and I'm looking forward to it, and we should be getting it in November, as they say. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? I'm looking forward to it more than I was before, but I am kind of someone who just likes to not get too hyped on a situation and just chill and just be surprised and be happy with what I get regardless. If I build this up too much, then you know I'm much more likely to be disappointed. But I still think it could be pretty good fun if it's executed properly. So yeah, that's the end of this video. I was talking quite quietly because it's like 2:30 AM. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning, guys. Keep on surviving. Keep on surviving.